There's been these huge protests. Huge protests.
Protests on behalf of Mexico have broken out across Los Angeles, completely blocking the busy 101 freeway.
Look at this. This is insane.
Surrounding the unlucky commuters caught in the middle.
What are they doing, man? Where is the police? They gotta get the police in here, stop this shit. You deport them all? I mean, most of these people are just citizens, right? I mean, they're citizens causing trouble. Like, they're not illegals. I mean, because that's not how it works. Like, I know that that's the way some liberals see it, is that, you know, like, oh, well, if you deport Mexicans or illegal immigrants, you're not going to have any more tacos. Like, every person from fucking that's Hispanic heritage is an illegal immigrant. No, most of these people probably went to school in LA, were born in LA, their parents were in LA. That's it. So, no, that's not how it works.
As we're now seeing flags from everywhere of the places they allegedly don't want to be.
Yeah.
So downtown LA is brought to a standstill in every direction. And local law enforcement has now called it non-permitted.
Yeah, no shit.
And when the police finally did arrive, it took them until night to actually do anything.
See, they gotta take some of these people, like, what I think the police should do is they should, like, kind of do, like a musical chairs thing or something like that, where, like, every 5 people, or, like, maybe, I'm trying to think of a good way to say it, right? Like, tic-tac-toe, something like that, where, like, you just randomly pick out people, and then, like, you go and you, like, put them in jail for a long time for this. And I bet if you did that for a few times, and, like, you really prosecuted them kind of at random for, like, all of them committing the crime, it would stop this from happening. Duck, duck, goose. Yeah, exactly. Duck, duck, goose. There you go. No protesting allowed. This is blocking traffic. Like, if your protest obstructs... If you protest in a public space, your right to protest does not supersede other people's right to freely move between places. If you're obstructing somebody's movement, that's violence. And so that's not the way it works. Now, if you get a permit, that's okay. If they had a permit, it's fine. But I don't think they had a permit because they said it wasn't permitted, which means they didn't have a permit. They have bills to pay, man? Yeah, exactly. Like, it's fine. You want to stand on the side of the road and yell at people, that's okay. That's totally okay. But if you get in the street and you're trying to stop people from driving, well, you can't. The reason why public spaces exist is so the public can use them and have access to them. So if you take over a public space and then you deny people access and usage of that public space, that's a problem. I don't even understand why. It's so fucking obvious, right? Now you don't like free speech? I didn't know free speech was standing in the middle of the highway. So free speech is standing in the middle of the highway now, guys. I had no idea. That's wow. That's crazy.
We're
gonna go. We're gonna go.
Until LAPD deployed the tactical shaman.
The tactical shaman?
And then the protesters immediately retook the freeway. I'm so sick of seeing this type of protest that I honestly think everybody on that freeway needs to see 6 months in county. This whole culture.
I agree. I completely fucking agree. Absolutely fucking based. I am so sick of these fucking people. They are so annoying. Yes.
Of whenever activists get upset, they're just allowed to hold the citizens captive has to stop. And if you
fucking thank you. I love this guy. Holy fuck, I love this guy. Absolutely. I hate these people. Yeah, they're blocking ambulances. Well, they're blocking anybody, right? And even if you don't block ambulances directly, you do block them indirectly by creating traffic that the ambulances have to navigate around. So, like, the way, it's basically a domino effect with traffic. So, even if they let ambulances go through when the ambulance gets there, it still took the ambulance a lot longer to get there. Most protests let ambulances through, though. It doesn't matter, though. Because what I'm saying is that when a protest like that creates a massive amount of traffic, it makes it to where the city cannot function. And also the road doesn't work the way it's supposed to. Like, have you guys ever been in traffic and you saw an ambulance and the ambulance can't get around people because there's so many cars on the road? That's what these protests do.
Haven't already, make sure you're subscribed for more clips like this, because I left that stupid city, as whenever a war broke out overseas, they had to stop all freeways. The Supreme Court returns a decision back to the states, which will have zero impact on California. Block that same freeway. A guy dies across the country and you want to blame all cops everywhere? Guess nobody gets to go to work today. Or basically anytime the orange man does something, feel free to unlawfully block.
Yeah, this is insane. Like, you can't just block the road. This isn't about freedom of speech, it's about freedom to assemble. I mean, like, if... we're talking about people standing in the middle of the highway. What are we doing? What are we talking about? These people standing in the middle of the highway shutting down traffic. That's not how it works.
Me in my vehicle. And notice in all 4 of those protests, none of the signs, shouting, or social media posts accomplished a single thing. And yet, the police seem to conveniently look the other way when actually sentencing these idiots to any significant time behind bars.
And that's the reason why they keep doing it. That's the exact reason. They keep doing it because they're getting away with it. And the moment that people like this have consequences, it immediately goes away.
I can guarantee you, if they gave them their disbursement orders, and the remaining 50 idiots on the freeway refused to take their protests peacefully to the pedestrian sidewalk, then they got locked up and lost 6 months of their life in the Twin Towers Correctional Facility, suddenly nobody will think blocking the 101 is such a good idea anymore.
Exactly. Yeah. You put a few people in jail for this and it stops.
And is this an insanely harsh punishment? Of course it is. But it's not like they're randomly picking out activists from a list to make an example out of them. We're just setting up a system called consequences, aka the justice system. So hopefully Los Angeles can rediscover it someday. And it's bad enough they're waving the flags of a country they're protesting.
Yeah, no, that's it. What do you say? The argument that following the rules is not disruptive and therefore no one cares about your cause? Well, I think that if you feel like you are justified to break the rules, then there's really no, like, I don't think that there's a big difference between standing in the highway and then destroying property. I think that these are both violent acts, and, like, also obstructing people's movement is also a violent act. So when you give people the ability, this is the problem, and this is why you have to have rules, is that if your viewpoint is that any protest that disrupts things is good, and so disruption is good, then you would logically assume that any crime committed in the purpose and in the goal of fulfilling a disruption would also be good, naturally. Because it's not like the only way to disrupt the world is to stand in the road. You can disrupt things 50 other ways too. So what makes that way okay and the other way not okay? Well, you can't draw the line anywhere. You can't. And so the problem is that when you use that logic can be applied to people, and everybody is going to have a different interpretation of what that logic means. And some people's interpretation is going to be disruptive and could get people killed. And so that's why you can't have thinking that works that way. Do you see kind of what I'm saying about that? You see how that makes sense? That's how you get Luigi supporters? Yeah, exactly. And I think that that's the way that Luigi thought about things too. And that's why permits for protesting are supposed to be peaceful even when they are disruptive? Yeah, exactly. And people do get permits to protest in certain places, and it does disrupt things, but that disruption is sanctioned by the government.
Being sent to, but also burning the flag of the country they're demanding they stay in. What a confusing worldview to have. It's always America bad, but simultaneously, I demand to live in only America. As all the way down to the border in San Diego, they're also blocking the streets for the same protest. Almost everywhere in Southern California is simply allowing this to happen, as if there's some sort of acceptable level of stopping the streets, when it should be zero, because when this is just allowed, it's only a matter of time before an ambulance gets stuck on the freeway, or like what we saw in Texas, an Uber driver ends up popping a protester. As over in Idaho, we're already seeing Americans fighting these forces flying foreign flags.
This is the problem, right? Is that you have this happen, and then you have these disruptions and these interactions, and then they get violent. This is why you need to have police, is to prevent things from people from getting hurt. That's it. First Amendment entails peaceful assembly? Yeah, of course it is. What if your government is corrupt and this is the only way to protest? I think that if you're in a monarchy or something like that, like, you know, that's, I feel like if you don't have a representative government, protesting with violence makes a lot more sense because you can't do anything else besides that. But we do have a representative government. These people aren't mad that they aren't getting represented. They're mad that they lost. It's like, imagine every time that we have a vote and then people lose the vote and they shut down all the fucking highways. You can't have that.
I guess I'm not leaving as soon as I thought.
And not even the cops are safe, as in Salem, Oregon, they began smacking his squad car.
Oh. I don't think they're doing anything like super wrong. Like, they're not really hitting the car or anything. Deport? Yeah, you cannot have this shit. Yeah, you can't have this.
And again, all of this.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. Like, yeah, you can't let people do this. Yeah, what is this? Like, yeah, it's insane. They need to be rounded up or removed permanently. No, I don't think you need to hurt them or anything. All you need to do is take a few of them, put them in jail, and say, listen, you keep doing it, we're going to put more of you in jail, and then before you know it, it stops happening. It's that simple. It is. It's that easy. Like, it goes away so fast as soon as people feel consequences. Yeah, that's it. It fucking pisses me off so much, missing regular folks' lives. Yeah, no, I hate people like this. I think it makes... And I actually think it... I think it hurts their cause, because I think that a lot of normal people see this as bullying. Like, they see like 20 people crowding around a person's car who's just trying to drive down the highway, and they're like hitting the person's car. I think that they see it as like basically bullying and like not really terrorism, but like intimidation.
Can be fixed if everybody that vandalized that police vehicle got the book thrown at them.
Yeah, exactly.
It might not be Munson County, but whatever appropriate fine actually being applied would be a decent start, as these people genuinely think there are absolutely no consequences to not only brazenly breaking our laws, but recording, posting, and boasting about nobody being able to stop them. And at this
that's because they won't stop them. What about people start figuring your income, they stop? What about MAGA when Trump lost at the Capitol? Why don't you go back to 2021 when I talked about the January 6th stuff, and you'll see what my opinion was on it. It's been consistent the entire time.
Test is to convince us that they should be allowed to stay. It's not working. It's just reassuring us that this needs to happen, as the argument against it is it's making all these workers not show up to their jobs.
Ya toda la gente que trabajaba aquí, unos están espantados, no quieren venir a trabajar, otros ya se los llevó migración, y así es como los negocios empiezan a quebrar.
No immigrants gives you this.
I think that, you know what this should mean? I think this is a really great argument for holding these companies accountable for employing people without checking their credentials and making sure that they were citizens. Like, if they were willfully and intentionally hiring illegal immigrants, I feel like this Chipotle, wherever the fuck this is, needs to pay a big fine. Yeah, when does that happen? Because, like, I don't like how... Because you got to keep in mind, like, you think about it, like, why do illegal immigrants, illegal aliens come over? Well, they come over because these companies are hiring them. So the companies are the carrot. I don't blame the people who are coming over. Like, if I lived in Mexico, I would try to illegally come to the U.S. too. Because, like, it's better here than it is over there. Or, like, wherever they're coming from in South America. Sure, I understand it. But these companies are the real beneficiaries. And they're the ones that are creating the carrot that causes all the people to come here.
Whole bunks of mad faces and dishes stacked and nothing ready.
I mean, to be fair, this could just be Chipotle.
This is just
day,
like how their movement simultaneously argues, America bad, but don't make me leave. This is the same side that shrieks over low wages and a housing crisis, but if all these legitimate businesses are suddenly seeing 90 to 100% of their workforce disappear due to illegitimate citizenship, it seems like we might have...
Then they have an illegitimate business. If the only way that your business can make money is if you don't pay people a working wage and you only hire people under the table to avoid paying other types of fees, then you don't have a viable business. It's that simple.
A lot more people here than should be. And you know what depresses wages? Importing cheap labor. You know what creates a housing crisis? Importing millions more into an area with a finite amount of housing. And of course, both of those have solutions that can alleviate the issues, but it's like they're literally trying to argue both sides of the coin. And their only solution is to give the government more of our money because somehow that will solve anything. But finally, Trump was elected and immediately began militarizing our border.
Thanks fucking God. The businesses should be reported for tax evasion? Yeah, no, they should. And I think also the people that intentionally did it themselves, I think that you need to have, this is a very, maybe this is a super strong viewpoint, but I think it's true. I think that you need to have individual accountability for actual people that work at the companies that did the wrong things. Because the problem is that a lot of times when a company gets held accountable, it's like this abstract punishment that doesn't really matter. It's just basically it's an accounting problem. But when you actually take people and you put them on the line and their head can be on the chopping block for like going to jail for something like this, then, especially if they're doing it knowingly, obviously if you can prove that they're doing it knowingly, it's much different. Then you can, then I think you need to hold them accountable. Every hour, every HR department gets arrested. I don't know about that. Yeah, it's cheap labor. Yeah, no doubt.
Can you assess your work so far?
Well, look, I looked at the numbers this morning, Maria. The crossings on the border are down 93%. President Trump is a game changer. No one has had the success he's had on securing the border. He clearly understands we can't have strong national security if we don't have border security. We need to know who's coming in, what's coming in, where it's coming in, why it's coming in. And we have achieved a success on the border already. We got more work to do. And on top of that, we, as far as the deportation operation, we're just shy of, I think we got 5,000 already arrested the first week.
This is kind of crazy here that the cartels authorized the use of weaponized drones, explosives against CBP personnel and U.S. law enforcement down there at the...
I'm sure that's going to work out really well for them. Yeah, I'm sure that's going to end very well.
Southern border.
Yeah.
Now they're actually being encouraged, of course, to remain cognizant and vigilant, but they're also being encouraged to use their long arms, Blake. I have never seen this in a CBP memo before. They say, where are your ballistic gear?
Drones? This got out of hand so fast that the normie liberal activist doesn't even realize they're flying the flag of the forces that may be going to war with our military. As throwing a brick through a Starbucks for social justice is one thing, but being seen as an enemy combatant might put them in an entirely different category, but hopefully it doesn't come down to that. And one last thing. As this so-called deportation document is spreading through social media, where many men are memeing and changing their minds about the whole
Look, I mean, I'm not saying that he's totally wrong.
Situation. But this isn't even a good hoax, as you should have been able to spot that even without the AI
Wait,
detector.
it's fake?
I know it was
Oh
mostly
my God.
jokes, but we gotta be better than that. So if you appreciate my concise, lighthearted commentary on the tragic status that is today's reality, hopefully I've earned your subscription and we can chat again soon.
Yeah, it's crazy to see these people do it, man. It really is. And I don't know what the fuck to say. They aren't SJWs, they're terrorist sympathizers. I mean, I just think that it's really simple. You just can't let people get in the middle of the road and impede traffic and stop people from going around. I mean, if you have a public space, you're entitled to be able to protest in that public space. But if that protest takes away other people's ability to use the public space, then now you have a problem. I think that most people would be totally fine if these people were just sitting around on like the side. Like, you know, for example, like you see some of these people that are on the edge here, like that doesn't matter. Like you can do whatever you want. But like if you're going around and you're stopping cars and you're causing people to not be able to go where they want to go, that's a huge problem. And you can't have people doing that. It's a mob. It's not protesting. Yeah, exactly. And so still want them deported? Well, a lot of these people are citizens, right? I mean, they're not all illegal aliens. I mean, like, I feel like that'd be a pretty big self-report. So yeah, they get a better response if they weren't disrupting normal people. Yeah, definitely. I'll read a few comments to this. Protesting should be like no inconvenience to anyone. That's like going to totally change something. Well, it's really simple. It's that if your idea of a protest is breaking the law and preventing people from using public spaces in an unlawful and unpermitted way, then you just can't have that. You can't have that. You can't allow people to break the law in the way that they please in order to fulfill whatever goal that they think that they have. And I know there's a lot of people that want to be able to do that. Sure, you want, so January 6th is okay. Yeah, exactly. They're intentionally being obstructive. Yeah, exactly. That's it. Protests have been tainted by BLM Summer of Love. That was a crazy time. It was. Do you think if they had American flags instead of Mexican flags, they'd gain more support? They'd just get different hate from different people, like January 6th. Like, I mean, I feel like all this stuff is bad. Doesn't really matter who's doing it. It's always bad. If it was okay to break the law anytime you disagree with the government, you might as well have no laws at all. Yeah, exactly. It's just crazy. Are there examples of successful protests without disruption? I don't know. I'm sure you can have some examples of it. I mean, I'm sure there's... I would say, you know, you want to know one example is an election. That's an example of a successful protest. So, like, when somebody runs for office and then they don't get reelected, they've just been effectively protested against. That's the way that it works. So, if you want to have a protest, then you vote. That's the way the system works. You don't just get to, like, burn down the system and say, oh, yeah, well, this isn't working for me right now at this very moment, so we're just going to destroy everything. That's not how it works. That's crazy. There's the video right there. That's nonsense. I don't know. Like, in my opinion, I feel like anybody who justifies this kind of behavior, I think that they don't realize what they're really justifying at all. And I think that this type of behavior justification leads to more Luigis. And I think also there's going to be people that are going to say, oh, well, that's good. But there's also going to be Marios as well. And, you know, Luigi might wear a green hat. There'll be Marios wearing red hats, too. And you might not like Mario or Wario. And so the fact is that when you just give people a blank check to just do whatever you want, if you feel like you have the right to protest, you're going to have people destroying everything. Blocking traffic, no, but voting is your only option. That's kind of off, too. You have a lot of options in order to protest. But when your protest obstructs people's movement in public spaces and you don't have a permit for it, you're committing a crime and you need to go to jail. It's really just that simple. I don't think that there's really a lot of thinking involved with this or a lot of complexities involved with this. I think it's really just that simple. It's the non-aggression principle. It is. Protests are meant to be inconvenient for people in government as it brings attention to the issue. All this form of protesting does is detract from the message they're advocating for. Yeah, sure. And no, I'm saying like a protest on the side with peacefully American flags. They're happy to enter the country instead of flying Mexican flags. I feel like there are some cases where that probably would be true too. But I don't know. I think that more and more people are feeling like they just want to see people like this put in jail. And I totally agree with them and I totally support it. And I hope that the government does start calling in, you know, like I don't know if they can do National Guard for something like this, right? but just totally getting rid of these people. Yeah, I hate people like this. I hate their entire mentality. I hate how self-righteous they are. I hate everything about them. And so whatever basically fucks them over is what I would support.